Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something deeply unsettling. 5 first-person true accounts that systematically dismantle that comfortable illusion of safety we all take for granted. You know, we usually think of summer as this time of carefree relaxation, right? Warm weather, open windows, vacations, and just a general lowering of our guards. But what actually happens when the very environments we trust the absolute most, the places where we feel completely shielded from the outside world, turn around and become the backdrop for our worst nightmares?
Hags, I'll be seeing you again. Well, before we uncover exactly what that chilling little phrase means, we need to talk about how true vulnerability escalates. It's a terrifying reality that danger doesn't always start out in some dark alleyway or a deserted parking lot. Often, it begins right in the places we feel the most secure, wrapping itself up in the completely mundane until it's literally too late to run. So, let's open up our dossier of summer nightmares. We're going to explore 5 cases today: the storm intruder, the window watcher, the yearbook stalker, the beach house trap, and finally, the missing hours.
Let's kick things off with Case 1, the storm intruder.
Okay, picture this. You're just a kid, 2nd or 3rd grade. Your parents are unexpectedly stranded at a fundraiser by this massive flooding summer storm, leaving you home alone for the night. Now, this kid meticulously followed a strict security checklist their parents gave them over the phone. The front and back doors locked tight, every single window blind drawn shut, and they made sure at least one house light was left burning. They went to sleep on the living room couch wrapped up in a blanket, feeling entirely 100% secure against the storm raging outside, but then, hours later, they woke up in the pitch black to a freezing cold house. And then came the sound. These bizarre, heavy, creaking footsteps. And they weren't just walking, they were jumping, pinballing wildly down the wooden stairs, getting closer and closer to the living room. Imagine the sheer, paralyzing terror of being a kid, knowing every single door is locked, and hearing those chaotic steps coming down for you in the dark.
Hiding in absolutely silent horror under the dining room table, the child watched as 2 bare, muddy, almost yellow-tinted legs stumbled into the room. And the absolute terror of this bizarre intruder is anchored by what happened next: a heavy, metallic clank. The intruder had dropped a metal wrench right onto the hardwood floor. And then, nothing. The intruder stood completely still, just a tense, suffocating standoff in the total silence of the house. Minutes stretched into an absolute eternity before this person eventually stumbled out the front door, leaving it wide open to the storm. The child was left deeply traumatized, clutching a heavy metal wrench that for sure did not belong to anyone in their family.
Moving right along to Case 2, the window watcher.
This case brilliantly illustrates that terrifying overlap between our subconscious mind and physical, tangible danger. Imagine having this recurring childhood nightmare where you're floating out of your body, watching a reverse counting clock, and there's this strange, gray-haired man with a deeply scarred left temple, clawing frantically to get inside. Super creepy, right? But the true horror arrived when that dream bled into reality. One night, the victim woke up from this exact dream, but they couldn't move at all. Complete sleep paralysis, just the absolute helplessness of being trapped inside your own rigid body, fully conscious as freezing night air rushes over you. Why was it freezing? Because their bedroom window, which had been locked tight, was inexplicably wide open.
What makes this case so deeply disturbing is the realization the parents had the very next morning. When this terrified kid described the gray-haired dream figure with the scarred temple, the parents just went completely pale. The description perfectly, impossibly matched Uncle Brian. He was a former friend who had been banished years prior after a really severe and dangerous fallout. That single detail aggressively rips this account away from just being a simple childhood nightmare. It leaps right from the subconscious into physical reality, shifting the whole thing into a multi-year stalking incident. And that reality was cemented by the faint, distinct footprints they found pressed into the dirt directly beneath the child's open bedroom window.
Let's look at Case 3, the yearbook stalker.
This case totally strips away the safety of a crowded, heavily supervised, and familiar environment, an 8th grade middle school class. On the chaotic last day of school, completely surrounded by friends and teachers, our victim found a really disturbing signature in their yearbook from a boy they had literally never spoken to, Samuel Robinson III. The message simply read, "Hags, I'll be seeing you again. Have a great summer. I'll be seeing you again." This seemingly innocent, if kinda weird, yearbook note is the exact catalyst that leads directly to a 2 a.m. rhythmic knock on a basement storm door during a summer sleepover that very same night. Just a slow, deliberate tapping in the dead of night. And the situation escalates with terrifying speed. When the victim and his friends cautiously go to check the door, there stands Samuel in the dark. He starts off with this bizarre, cheerful, high-pitched voice, casually claiming he had always watched the victim from afar. But the second one of the friends bravely calls him a creepy stalker, Samuel's entire demeanor fractures. He shifts instantly. The cheerfulness just vanishes into this violent, unpredictable anger. He starts screaming hateful things, snarling, and violently banging his fists against the glass like a wild feral animal trying to break through, before suddenly sprinting off into the darkness.
But the illusion of safety at that school completely shatters the next morning. The victim calls the school only to learn that Samuel had actually been expelled weeks prior. He shouldn't have even been in that yearbook. He definitely shouldn't have been in that building at all. But because the yearbooks were printed before his expulsion, his photo is still in there, which means this deeply troubled teenager managed to sneak past the security, past the teachers, and past 1,000 students on the very last day of school, completely undetected, just to write his terrifying promise in the victim's book before tracking them to their house.
All right, case 4, the beach house trap.
Our fourth case study is wild, and it proves that extreme wealth and private seclusion offer absolutely zero protection from targeted malice. 4 young women were staying at an ultra-modern, heavily secluded, and incredibly expensive beach house. After hanging out with some seemingly friendly guys they met stargazing on a private beach, one of the girls runs back to the beach to grab a forgotten purse, and from the dark dunes, she witnesses the unimaginable. 2 of her friends, Thea and Sabrina, are being violently forced into the trunk of an SUV by those exact same men. What follows is a frantic, hyperventilating 3 a.m. FaceTime call to our narrator, sparking this desperate, high-speed chase down a desolate beach road in the pitch black, just praying they catch up to the kidnappers before the taillights disappear forever.
3. That's the number of seemingly friendly men who were pulled from that SUV at gunpoint by the police, who thankfully intercepted them just in time. And the true horror here is that these were the exact same men who had casually, politely approached the girls on the private beach earlier that night, totally masking their predatory intentions with charm. Thea and Sabrina were found bound in the trunk.
So the crucial point here is the sheer calculated deception at play. Think about how often we trust an environment just because it looks wealthy and secure. These men lured the girls into the guise of an affluent, safe vacation setting. But as the police investigation quickly revealed, the men were actually squatters. They had simply broken into and taken over an empty, ultra-modern vacation home belonging to a random older couple who were traveling abroad. The safety of the environment, the wealth, the security, it was a total, lethal fabrication.
And finally, case 5, the missing hours. Here we arrive at the ultimate vulnerability, willingly walking right into danger alongside strangers during a massive, crowded July 4th weekend on the Jersey Shore. 2 friends, including our narrator, followed 2 wealthy, charismatic women they met at a club back to their pristine beach house. But almost immediately upon arriving, the narrator realizes something is deeply, terribly wrong. His body literally starts to fail him. He experiences these bizarre physical symptoms, a melting, flimsy feeling in his limbs, a sudden cold numbness creeping up his extremities, and this uncontrollable loss of motor function. Imagine the internal panic of realizing your own body is shutting down while surrounded by strangers in a house you don't know. This was absolutely not normal alcohol intoxication. They had been drugged. Following a kiss from one of the women, his memory completely and instantly goes black.
The details of how they woke up the next day are just staggering. The narrator regains consciousness with the blazing summer sun directly overhead. He's lying in a random set of bushes over an hour away from where he was last night. He looks down and realizes he's wearing a complete stranger's clothes. His shoes are soaking wet, but bizarrely, the shoelaces have been entirely removed. Think about how strange and predatory a detail that is, to meticulously unlace and steal someone's shoelaces while they are unconscious. He's been stripped of his keys, his wallet, and his phone, and his friend Ryan experienced the exact same thing, waking up in the dirt nearby.
Now, when they finally managed to track down their stolen phones later that week, the recovered text messages revealed something completely impossible. During the 10 missing hours where they were entirely blacked out, their phones were sending chillingly coherent texts to multiple people. One message went to a host named Jimmy, thanking him and saying they crashed at a buddy's place. Another went to his dad saying they found a couch to sleep on. And yet another was just a totally casual text to a girl. These texts completely contradict each other. It proved that they were physically conscious during the blackout, but their free will was entirely gone. Someone else was either forcing them to type these alibis or just holding the phones and typing the messages for them while they watched helplessly.
Desperate for any kind of answer, the two guys retraced their steps down the boardwalk until they found that exact opulent beach house the girls had brought them to. They rang the bell, demanding to know what happened. But just like the squatter story we talked about earlier, the illusion shattered instantly. An older man opened the door. He didn't know the girls. He didn't have a daughter named Marcella. The girls had never lived there at all. They had merely used the empty property as a prop in their terrifying trap.
So, we leave you with this final, lingering thought to consider. In every single one of these true accounts, from a locked childhood home in a storm to a seemingly safe and affluent beach house, what truly put the victims in danger? Was it the strangers lurking in the dark, or was it the unquestioned illusion of safety itself that allowed them to get so intimately close? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep your doors locked and always question your surroundings. See you next time.